Hey, Brandon. Tonight's episode 32 of the Anime Dojo. I'm alongside Chris tonight. Chris, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good, bro. How about you?
Doing well, can't complain. We are at the technical halfway point for most of this anime season now. Most shows only about 4 to 5 episodes left. We're gonna be watching episode 42 of JJK, episode 20 of Dead Mouse Death Play. We'll get into those a little bit later. But first, we're getting to the anime charts and a question I'm gonna pose to Chris because what JJK is doing now is gonna be kind of weird, and I don't know if they have the idea of how they're gonna handle that. But let's get into the anime charts first. These charts changed once again, so I'm just gonna run these down for you. We're gonna go Crimson, Furthest Beyond Journey's End, Doc, Doctor Stone Doctor Stone New World Part 2 at 3, the the Apothecary Diaries, JJK season 2 is at 6 or at 5. Um, the Enders in the Shadows season 2 is at 6. Spy in the Family is at 7. Undead Unlucky is at 8. They moved up 5 spots. Dark Gathering moved up a spot. The Vixen of a Shut-In Vampire moved up 7 spots to 10. From the Apothecary Diaries down, 5, 6, 7 all dropped 2 spots, 1 spot, 1 spot. So JDK dropped 2, Shadows dropped 1, and Spot and Phantom dropped 1. And then the biggest mover from where it was originally, the Shut In Vampire went 7, and Dead Stone went 4.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you think about these charts? One of the biggest things in this is Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone has been in every single chart we've looked at this season, and this is the first time it's hit the top 3 this season. I I'm gonna have to go back and watch Dr. Stone now. That's the sad part. Like I need to because I know Dr. Stone's good, but at the same time, it's just like I need to go watch Dr. Stone. I'll do that
Doctor
down the
Stone
road.
is one of my favorites animes. It really is one of my favorites, man. It really goes and looks at a lot of technology and science and how it was created, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real chance for you to nerd out. That's what I do.
Outside of that, was there anything else that surprised you from this chart?
So looking at this chart, I had to go back and look at it one more time because
Yeah, go
it
ahead.
changed. It changed like dramatically, and
Yes, it
it
did.
does every time. Now we the other one that's still probably not getting a whole lot of credit for how much it's jumped. It's probably Vexations because at one point it was at 3, then it dropped down, then it's back up and at least in the top 10. Like that's probably the most bouncing anime that we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Uh, uh, I will say this: the Vixen of a Shut-In Vampire is the one that I also think it's kind of weird. Vampire Princess, because it's been up in the top 10 once before, and it did this once prior where it was in like the bottom half of the top 10 with one episode. I don't know if that's because this episode's really good or the show is just having good up and downs. Is that what do you think about that?
I mean, it's probably just having some really good up and downs depending on what's going on in the anime. Neither one of us
Mm,
are watching it, so who
that's
knows
true.
what's
That's
going
true.
on.
I'm actually surprised. I'm happy Undead Unlucky is up here again. I think I want to go back and watch that myself. That's one where I've heard good things about it. It's been in the top 15. Uh, I'm gonna pull the rest of this up real quick because there is one thing I want to mention. It's actually kind of interesting. Um, and it's not something I even thought was gonna be as strong, but it has gotten to be strong. Let's go to the full chart real quick. So if we go from, so we're at 10, the Vexen of a shut-in vampire. 11 was Rise of Shield Hero, which has actually gotten pretty good. That is one I think me and Chris have enjoyed because that's gotten to be a strong story behind that after the first season and the second season was kind of this third season has been very well done. Then we have Shangri-La. Shangri-La dropped to 12, but I'm not surprised by that. It's gonna get beat out by a couple things here and there every once in a while. Shangri-La is also like really well done when you think about it. It does a good job of building up its characters. Then
I can
you
see
have Hundred Girl.
Shangri-La going really well once it gets a bigger fan base. Like if they
Correct.
come out with a season 2 or season 3, then they'll have a legit fan base.
Correct. 100 Girlfriends. I'm actually this is 13. 100 Girlfriends dropped to 13. I'm not surprised by that because the last episode had that really cool girl, which I didn't know much about, but you know, at the same time, me and Chris both fell off the show because it's kind of corny for the both of us. Outside of that, the only ones I want to take note of, Goblin Slayer, Berserker Glutton, Girlfriend are all 16, 17, 18. And then you have to go all the way down to number 32 for Shy. And I hate to say this, I'm going to say it again. We said it a couple times before. If you are not watching Shy, please go watch Shy. Because the episode they did this past month, yesterday, was so. And honestly, Shy is one of those sleeper hits, like you say with Shangri-La. If Shy get a season 2 or season 3, I think it's going to be one of those things where it gets a fan base because of how much it tells a good story. And this is kind of hard to believe, but you think about the rest of this chart, there's nothing too crazy in the rest of this chart. This rest of this chart is pretty much where everything else should fall. And I ultimately think of everything I've mentioned here, I think girlfriend should be higher. I think girlfriend should be on top, like 15.
Let's see, you mentioned Shy, and I am a fan of Shy now. I will admit it, but
Mm-hmm.
it would be interesting to see what kind of fan base that Shy brings. You were talking about the everything they got going on, and Shy
Yeah,
being kind of like Shangri-La, and I would like to see what kind of fan base Shy brings.
I think Shy could bring a good fan base. I think, like we talked about yesterday when we watched it, it is a higher level of, not higher level of thinking, but it makes you think. It makes you think about real world situations, but it also makes you think about like personality traits, people having mental and physical disability, people also having alcohol. They do things that most shows wouldn't touch very well or touch at all. This is the one season, and I have to give them this credit. This season of fall anime has gave us so much of that without even asking.
Yep.
And I have to give them, if they're to keep on this continuation of like next season we have a theme where it gives us a lot of those storytelling and stuff, cool. I'm down with that. But if you kind of keep us in the unknown, I'm cool with that too. So I don't really care. Either way, I think that's going to be the one thing we'll see coming out of the end of this season. The themes they put out in each episode, and certain themes you want to show off.
I can see
Getting
that.
alongside that, I think the other thing that you thought was interesting, and I have to go really far down for this. I do apologize. Overtake's not even the top 40, if I remember correctly. But
Ooh.
that's another one I think deserves its flowers because it's 47.
Wow.
But
So
it
underrated.
but I'm not shocked by that because it's a racing anime. Unless it was gonna be like um Initial D or Speed Racer or something of that nature, then yes, I could see it doing better. But in this case, it's a Formula One thing. I'm a Formula One fan. I'll put my hands up and say that now. Chris wasn't, but when me and Chris started watching it together, he got into it because the story it tells using racing as a platform is really interesting. I
It
think
does
that should,
very well.
in this last episode, my word, they didn't mince words of things about a person and what they are, they what they do for a living, and they showed you another side of that using a real life story, which I didn't even know about. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, if you really want to get banned from China, look up the the Tiananmen Square massacre.
Yeah, like they did some things, like they even explained about somebody who won a Nobel Peace Prize and rejected the prize because of what he took a picture of. And it's actually true history. Like you can look it up, and it's interesting. It's interesting to me when they do that, and they do it in a good way. So that's the one that I really want to see some change in. Shangri-La, I think girlfriend's gonna be one, but I also think Shy is gonna be that other one where once he builds a big enough fan base, maybe at the end of the season people go back and watch it. It's gonna have its people talking about it, which is not a bad thing. But let's get into the question I'm gonna give you all tonight. We're about to watch JJK episode 42 in a couple minutes, so get that up when you ever get a chance. So Mappa didn't go on hiatus, and the studio didn't take weeks off or anything like that. But this episode we're about to watch was kind of, how can I put this? Like I'm trying to be. I wouldn't say boring. I wouldn't say boring. I would say it told a story of a character. Yes, filler. Good example. It told a story of a character that we needed to see a story about because we didn't know what happened to the character. But other than that, it does nothing else to really hook you in. It teases a couple things. It teases a fight later down the road we might see, or a fight we're going to start seeing in the next episode. It felt like this episode was already in the can. And I don't know if that's, when I say in the can, I mean already produced, already made, already ready to go. So I'm going to ask you this question, Chris. Do you think they already had this episode produced? And do you think that was because they gave them more time to talk about things? Or is it a way for them to have one or two episodes every once in a while? One episode's going to be kind of not story driven or heavy, and the animation is going to be kind of less movie quality. But then the next episode after that, they can really make movie quality and high level.
So, really, as I think about it, as improbable as having an extra episode out there just as a filler, well, I can, somebody explained it to me at work today that it's not necessarily the fact that it was it was how it was drawn. It was drawn with less of a budget. Like they probably had rotating artists
Okay.
to to make that make that they knew they had to dial back the action and everything and all the sequence that was going on. So they took the easy road.
Is that a good or bad thing though? Because I think if you're rotating animators, I'm cool with that. Give animators rest. You can.
I mean, at that point, you're just stalling for time, I think.
Okay.
So I mean, now
Okay.
that can be a good or a bad thing depending on the outcome of it.
Okay.
If there's a positive outcome, then everything worked well. And if it ain't, well, it was all for nothing.
I'm worried because I know we usually get the announcement for the next episode as of tomorrow. This is probably one of those cases where we got this announcement for this episode late on Wednesday. It was like Wednesday afternoon American time. Like so it was so late in the day. I was like, wow, they kind of just like dropped that without any real reason. And the only reason I say that, Anime Corner usually will drop it on their Twitter like once it posts. So this was like, I didn't find out until I got home. I think it was like either about to leave work that day or I looked at it right when I came home. And I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah. So we see where the world is as far as Mappa goes. I mean, and then the fact that they announced that they're taking on another anime.
Which I think is kind of crazy because you shouldn't be taking on anything else right now, knowing the fact you can't keep your people happy. And also, also the big other thing you can't do, you want to keep up this movie quality level with this new anime. I bet you have the same desire to do that with this new anime you're gonna be doing. Are you crazy? Like that's that's a little much for me. And I usually don't tell, I'm not gonna tell animators what to do. I'm not gonna tell anybody what to really do. But I think Mappa, slow down. Like y'all are literally trying to get every anime under the sun to work on. Nobody can do that unless I'm. Do I sound crazy, Chris? Like I don't know.
I don't know, bro. You sound pretty sane to me. I mean, it just depends on how you want to view as a protagonist and a villain. You know?
Like I also think the other problem with this is
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Or did you hear me?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I agree. Like you protect the villain, but I also think too. I get the rules. You have NDAs. I get the rules you have. They have to do their work. But at the same time, if quality starts dipping like it did with Attack on Titan, which people didn't like, a, a lot of people thought that was super weird, but people got used to it after a while. This is gonna, I think, create the same problem. If quality starts dipping, I think it drops down in the charts fast. How fast? I don't know. But then my other question to you: Do you think do you think the do you think this is part of the manga, or do you think where this is in the manga has more to it and they had to adjust it a little bit?
I think that last part. I think they took a small piece that they can just kind of stretch and elaborate and just kind of made it relax for a minute.
Okay. Okay. And I'm gonna say this right now. I do apologize for bringing this back up again, but yet me and Chris both felt the same way. This episode kind of felt off, and we didn't feel like nothing bad. I don't think it was a bad episode. I don't think it was anything. I think it's just like, yeah, this it gives you the bad taste in your mouth a little bit. And I ultimately think the other problem with JJK right now, which is a really big, I think the other bigger issue, there's not much story in JJK. We did get a little bit of story with this episode, a little bit, just enough to give you something. But the thing is with JJK, the story is not really there because they're trying to give you a fight every episode. This actually, honestly, they're still trying to do that, and yet the fight here is not really a full-on fight. It's more of it's a tease of a fight that's going to come on later through another means, but it is a fight, quote unquote. Because the person that's in the fight is the person we see prior. So okay, we get that. But I want to know what y'all think as we're getting closer to the end of the season. We only have technically, I think it's episode 18. Technically, this is episode starting from 30. I think it's 30. Yeah, starting from 30 to 42. We're 12 episodes in.
So technically, they could take a break after this episode.
Correct. We still have 6 left, I think. No, we have 5 left. 5 left after this episode. If they take a break, maybe for the holiday, that could give the time to give them rest, but also get other episodes done faster. Cool. I think that's going to be the main thing. Other than that, I don't know what else you could do. Um,
Let the animators rest.
Yeah,
Let them rest.
yeah. So I hope you have JJK episode 42 up in a minute. I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Chris, you ready?
Ready.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Right and wrong. This whole section here, I don't know who is talking in this. Is it people? Oh, Sukuna. Okay, I thought it was Sukuna, but I was confused because I thought it was Sunukuna or people already here who already passed away. I couldn't.
He's hearing all of that. All the people
Jeez.
who's going to encounter.
I don't know. At that point, would I want to hear all that? What happened to people after I let somebody else murder them from my body? I would have been like, nope.
And then he vows again to never lose again.
Never lose again. By the way, was he just walking without any purpose? Because he wasn't heading to anywhere specifically, right?
Not that we know of.
Okay,
You know,
that's what I thought.
but he did walk from the street back to the subway, so he could
So
be still trying to finish the mission.
okay. What would you do in that situation if you had if you could hear somebody else, a spirit thought that was controlling your body, and you literally could hear everything he had done with your body? What would you do in that situation? Because I would have ended up just like, like I'm not finishing myself, but I'm like I'm letting myself die.
You're asking me what I would do in a real if that was a real life situation.
Yes,
I would pray.
same. That probably my first thought.
Yeah. And
Literally
pray
my first
without
thought.
ceasing. Here it is. See, this is the part that kind of made it feel like a filler. Because
Yeah, because
this is pretty much the rest of the episode.
yeah. So this is after. Is this after the beach scene? This is on the beach, but this is not a beach. He's dreaming about that.
Dreaming about dreaming about going on vacation.
Oh, I didn't know he was sleeping in there. I didn't know he was in there. That's cool.
He trying to avoid him though.
Correct, he is. By the way, how is he? I don't know how Namine's walking right now because he shouldn't be walking.
Is this eye closed or is it just missing?
It's missing. It's literally burned. Yeah, it looks like just like a husk of a thing, and it's like missing his eye.
I wonder if he'll recover. That's not
Already
likely
have
though.
him. When I'll be able to home, and I would. So he wanted to retire.
Yep. He was tired of everything.
So can you consider this his happy place?
Yep.
Okay.
He's dreaming about being in his happy place while his body is pretty much on autopilot.
Yeah. So he's killing demons. He's killing spirits, and just, okay. I have to give the man credit. He's doing what he's supposed to, but. I
But
like
this
the
is the
light
part
paint.
that feels like a filler though.
Yeah, because there's no talking in this. No talking. Just a cut between him killing something and then him, um, and him in like this spirit state. Like this seems odd. See, I think what you should have had here is him having more of inner thoughts. Like I would have rather wanted to hear what he's thinking as he's doing this. Outside the grunting. The grunting makes sense because he's just in pain at this point.
It doesn't sound like they had the voice actors in this episode.
I could believe it. I could believe
They're
it.
they're re they're reusing sounds they were already using. I just realized he's touching his back.
Yep. Yeah, I came back over such a bad reason for a job worth doing. He was dedicated to duty. I can't. That's wrong. Why are we seeing this kid again? This is weird. Or is that his younger self?
I don't know who that is.
It's the guy from the premature episode, from the last premature episode. This is the one where he's talking to Ghetto, and that girl walks up in school.
Oh, okay.
It's him. I'm wondering, is he alive or this is just a vision? I don't get this part.
He can be a mutate.
Oh yeah, good. Oh, he mutates him, and oh, that's disgusting.
Oh yeah, bro, you got to go. You got to go.
Yep, yep. So did Mahito want this fight?
Yeah, yeah, he did.
Why?
Because remember, he wanted to kill him
He did want to kill him. I remember that.
because he wanted to test his power against Suna.
He did.
And then remember, Suna also told him if you touch him again, he was gonna kill him.
Yeah. Whoa, what that roll? By the way, Itadori should be dead. Because you got cut through the face. You don't survive that. You can't beat me? On and on. Did he mutate that wall? Jeez.
Still mutating that same person.
Uh, yeah, that wasn't going to work on Itadori.
Everybody knows what happens when a protagonist really gets angry.
Yep. He goes insane. I do like well, I kind of like the shot here, but I don't like the shot here because it looks kind of weird with the muscles, like the stuff.
You think so?
It looks kind of weird because it doesn't feel like they were in the actual um inside the animal or the mutated thing.
I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, like it looked really just like they were just on the side of it.
Like just random in all accounts. See, random.
Yep. What do you
And it's
grab
even
now?
more random for him to chunk it back.
Yeah. Oh, that's disgusting.
Just like that thing from Men in Black.
What the? Did he make that happen? Oh, he just made a okay. Yeah. Whoa.
Oh, wait, is that a flashback?
No, that was legitimately happening.
No, that is a flashback.
Oh. Oh, so this is where they split up and they were gonna go try to find him. He wanted to kill him, and then what did the volcano do? The volcano war just wanted to go after Sukuna, right? So we assume Mahito how he got to this point, but this point is him fighting the girl with the hammer.
This is still a flashback, I think.
Yes.
Ooh.
I would love that ability. Just like you could just use the nails in the way you want to.
Yeah, but you can't miss though.
Yeah, you can't miss. You just can't. You can't.
Oh man. So what do you have to say about this episode?
All right. All right. How are we gonna do? Okay, I'm gonna let me explain the episode first, and I'll give my thoughts.
Take it away.
So this episode basically kicks off with you seeing Nominee walking through a beach, but it's not actually a beach. It's a it's him like imagining a beach because he's out of it now. Man's burnt on one side, the other part of his body is just kind of not there. So then he starts talking and saying, "Hey, I wanted to retire. I didn't want to come back to this. I wish I was on the beach right now reading a book. I wish I could be doing all these things." Then he sees Mahito because Mahito is hiding in this photo booth thing. But Mahito, after Mahito hides in the photo thing, we cut to. Well, actually, I'll go to the very beginning because I forget one part, and it's not really much of a thing. This is you see Ichidori walking through a corridor back to the train station, and he hears all the voices of people he has technically
Sukuna slain.
yeah, Sukuna slain, people he's hurt. That's crazy. Like that whole section, that whole beginning part was crazy and fun, but also weird because like that's odd. Um I can't say this enough. I have to give him credit. At least you kicked off from where this last episode left off. You did do that much, so I have to give him that. They didn't just go to jumping something else. We get to Tyler Screen, then we see Nominee. The Nominee stuff's interesting because I think him in this episode getting a flashback. Uh, I think the thing with the Nominee stuff is like he's super tired. He's out of it. He's really just wants to be done with this, but he has to keep going on. He even mentions Fushiguro. He mentions Fushiguro by name, and he even says, "I need to go save Fushiguro." Uh, and then from there you see Mahito. Mahito gets on the back of not gets Nami there in his way, puts all these curses in his way. And this part was cool, but I thought this part was also kind of odd. So Nominee is just fighting off these curses. They're going back between him fighting the curses and the beach like flashback or flash daydream. I'll say not flash. Um, I like it, but the thing that was missing, talking, like uh
It was a whole lot of non-talking, none like the sequence. Like it just really made it seem like it was all filler. Yeah.
Correct. I didn't mind Nominee getting his little closing thing because I assumed he was going to die eventually. We kind of had a hunch he was going to probably die. But the way they did it didn't work because the only time they ever done this again is when you had the girl who's going to become the star vessel, and she goes through the whole section of like going to an aquarium and all that, and that doesn't feel it feels earned there because they've done all this other stuff up to that point, but it also had no talking. There's just music and her looking at things, but you need to give a base or reason why. I would have been okay with if Nominee kept talking or had something. You hear grunting, but I'm also like the grunting sounds weird because it doesn't sound like the actor did it. It sounds like Chris mentioned. It sounds like they took a previous recording and put it through this episode. Um. Uh. Um. I also will say this going after that part. So then you see Mojito come up on Nami's back, held his back, and then you see the kid from Premature episode, the last episode of Premature, and the kid doesn't talk. It looks like spirit. It is a spirit or something. It says, "Look behind you." And you see Ichidori in the background standing there looking at this happen, and then Namini dies. Well, that was kind of an awkward climax because Nami like said, "I'm sorry. I'm just plumb tired. I'm out of it." Like what? Um. Then the thing to me that really kind of hit this in the gear. So Nominee dies. Ichidori screams at Mojito, "Why the world did you do that?" And then basically he's like, "Why are you yelling? I'm right here, Ichidori." And then they just go into this fight. I will say, this fight was amazing. This fight was fun. This fight was interesting. There's only one small niggle with the fight. One small niggle. And like it's a small nitpick that I don't really would normally nitpick, but it's kind of interesting. Within that fight, you see them break up curses and curse one of the curse thing that keep pushing them together closer and closer. And Ichidori breaks part of it. And then once he breaks it, you see pieces fly off. And they're in Mojito and Ichidori within the pieces. The pieces look really weird because it doesn't feel like the pieces broke off right. It feels like the pieces were set into the scene like in 3D, but it's not 3D. It's like
Kind of like a mix
uh,
between artificial and like spiral to
correct.
spiral to awareness.
Yeah. And when I mentioned to Chris while we were watching, he was like, "I don't really see it." But then he looked at it again. He's like, "Oh, I see what you're talking about." That looked kind of weird. I don't think it was really supposed to be doing that. I think it was supposed to be a flattened screen, and you could tell that this was. Then you could tell they're supposed to be around them. So then we get more of
Wouldn't
the
have
fight. Go ahead.
gonna say was say wouldn't have had a problem if you paid your animators right, but hey, we
Yeah,
might talk.
yeah, yeah. That's the other thing about that. You could tell that the animation was kind of off for certain parts of this. Little bit, very little bit. Um, then I will also say this. I think it's interesting. So we get more of this fight, more and more of this fight, and as the fight continues, we get finally the crux of the thing because Mojito just wants to fight Ichidori. He wants to see if he can beat him. Well, then we get a flashback from Mojito's side. So they flash back to Mojito when he was talking to Dragon, the volcano dude, and the other dude, and talking about what they're going to do. He wanted to go after Ichidori and fight him. So he leaves and literally just leaves everybody else in the dust. Then, then the other part of this thing was I thought was interesting. The volcano dude was pissed. Volcano dude's like, why he just leave? But then you see the fact that they also flash back to Dragon and Mojito in the same place, and Dragon sucking up all this water and hurting all these people. And then we flash back we're also go back one more time, and he goes, by the way, oh, by the way, he saw the girl that can shoot nails with the hammer, and this is just a conversation they're having, and she kind of just says, she kind of goes, okay, so who are you? What are you about? All this kind of stuff. Then the flashback, you see that they have a mini fight. This mini fight was kind of interesting because it kind of builds the backstory. But he even says, "Oh, she must care for him," talking about Ichidori. And then the thing was that Ichidori goes up to these two guys who are not actual guys, by the way. We find out later, Mikito manipulated his DNA to make him look like a human and catch Ichidori off guard. And then basically the other human he makes a hand with, and it's just like, what is this episode doing? And I have to go back for a second because this episode, oh, I forgot, this episode ends with his flashback of her and the girl. So all this ending part is flashback. We don't see anything from the current fighting, from what they fought after, let's say, 1907. So from 1907 onward, you just see flashback, which is kind of odd because I don't really think you need a Mojito's flashback, but I'm okay with it. So it ends with his flashback talking to the girl. The girl and them start fighting. He pulls out the thing from his thing, and he talks about the girl. At that ends the show or this episode.
I don't think that was like that flashback was that far back. I think that was like maybe like after she had the fight with the with the good luck dude,
Yeah.
and then she happened to see that dude in the alley.
But here's the thing. That's what I'm saying. From the point that after Ichidori gets punched by the fake human, up until at 907 and onward, we don't see any more of the fight. It just cuts to his flashback.
Oh, correct. Right.
So, which is odd because I don't know why you need Mojito's flashback in this case.
Because they're about to introduce something really messed up.
That's why I assume. If you're getting something messed up, I get the reason to have the flashback. I would have rathered you flip this around. Give me the flashback in the middle of the episode and then have the fight up to this point and then end with him saying, because you hear him say, I'm going to mess with Ichidori's mental state. Plus, the plus part doesn't need to be, I think you can change the plus part. Plus, he could say, like, I know the people he cares about, all this, something of that nature. I think that's the only thing that feels kind of odd here, because then we see the flashback, he says plus, and then we see the flashback of everything he's come up to this point. I think that's kind of odd. Chris, what did you think about this episode? Episode 42 of JJK, Wrong and Right.
Excuse me. I still think it was a filler episode, but it was a good one. They gave a nice send off to Hanami. That sparked a lot of sorry.
There you go.
That sparked a lot of vengeance in Itadori.
Okay. I would agree with you. It is a filler episode. I do agree it's not a bad filler episode. I will say this. Filler episodes usually tend to be very hit or miss, depending on the show. Dragon Ball Z, filler episode, you know what you're probably getting. Bleach, filler episode, you know what you're probably getting. One Piece, filler episode, you know what you're probably getting. But in this case, the filler episode here still gave a story. If the filler episode didn't give a story,
it wouldn't have been nearly as good.
Correct. The only other thing I think they should have changed, and I think it's something that I think doesn't really also. I think everything else fits. I think the nominee part of him going between the flashback and his current thing, I think the only thing you should have fixed there, have something. Have nominee keep talking. Have nominee say something. because him stop talking and it just has a bunch of like music and stuff playing. We get the sense why he's doing it, but it's also like him grunting halfway, like partway through it. What is he? Because he's in pain or what? Like we don't get the reason why he's so still doing his job, but yet he doesn't want to be doing it. I think that's kind of lost at half part of that fight because it just feels like he's just there. But that's just me. And then my other question is, you like I said with the animation, do you think? Because I also think I say this was already done in the can, but do you think this was a rush job?
Yes,
Why?
I think it was because some of the scenes looked a little half done. A lot of the things weren't animated correctly. There were some thought that was trying to come through, but didn't really come through as I think as they wanted to perceive it. So,
Okay.
like, I think they tried to do this in like the last 4 or 5 days, and then yeah, like I put it this way:
Okay.
if they had 2 weeks to do this, the first week was they did all that. Nanami was walking and all that scene that was real nice and sweet, easy to do, and then the last 4 or 5 days of the next week, the rest of the animators came back and finished the rest of the episode. That's what it looks like. I mean, because it's the way it looks is just like when the animator, you don't. I feel like you wouldn't need as many animators to draw out a scene over and over again, like him walking. You already
True.
have a face plate. You're just rotating. You know what I'm saying? You already. I'm not sure how many people it takes to do that, but I don't think
Yeah.
it would take as many people to do it as doing the action scene.
Yeah. I, okay. Yeah, I think the other thing I'm getting kind of feeling like this feels like also they kind of were like you say the Nami stuff is pretty easy to animate for the most part. The other stuff you did was not as easy. It seemed like it wasn't as easy, but it was. But at least the other stuff is more fight stuff, so they had to take more time on that.
Exactly.
I'm gonna ask you this. I don't. I really. This is gonna be a tough. This is gonna be a tough one because I don't really think there's a good way to rate this. But what would you rate this episode?
I would give this part hybrid filler episode a 8.4.
Ooh. Okay. Why?
Simply because of all the things that we stated before. And I'm glad that they gave the Mappa team a break. It looks good for what they've done. I understand when you cut corners, so I'm cutting corners on my score. 8.4.
Okay. Okay.
What about
Uh.
you?
This. Oh, this is gonna be hard. This is gonna be hard. I ultimately would probably have to give this like a 6.
Ooh. Okay, okay.
It has nothing to do with the animators in this case, or the writers, or anybody working on the show. I think it's just because this feels like a dip in quality, and the quality is dipped below like I don't, we're closer to like something out of like a Saturday morning cartoon at certain parts of this.
I can say I feel like this will be like almost to Yu-Gi-Oh standards the way they dropped it.
Yeah, which is kind of scary to say that because I don't really want to say that, but I say like yeah,
Well,
you're
see, at
talking.
least you can bounce back from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes, you can. You can. Um,
Like, like for
go ahead.
example, I don't see a lot of people going back to watch the Pokemon series.
Which one? Oh, yeah, the one that just finished about
But
6 months
people
ago.
will go back and watch the original Yu-Gi-Oh, the first few original Yu-Gi-Oh series.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Right
Because
now,
it's
they're
Yu-Gi-Oh.
redeemable. Exactly.
That
Right
name
now,
that,
it's
that
redeemable.
that's never gonna change. Um. Also, too, like I don't really like the fact that like here's the thing, and that's the other thing that's kind of messing with me. If we never heard about what's happening, I if I never heard about what happened at Mappa, would I have the same thinking in the back of my brain? No.
Nope.
But what
Honestly,
happened?
I probably would give them a lower score.
Oh, absolutely. Same here. But I wouldn't have probably gone as low as a 6. But I think that's the other problem. What we heard at Mappa is just kind of like, wait, what? Why? Um, I I have to give. I think the 6 is going to be. I think the 6 for this episode just because I think there were good things in this. The fight was good. The flashback was good. Mito. I think the beginning part with Ichidori talking, hearing each Suguna tell what we're hearing every every t- e- every time hearing what Sukuna did to all these people up to this point. But other than that, the Nami stuff you could have took out completely, and I think it would have been fine. Also,
Well,
I think well, I'm not saying take it out completely. I think you could have fixed it around to where it made
it
more of
didn't
an
have to
impact.
be a whole third of the episode.
Correct. Maybe like 5 minutes of the episode because I think
Hmm.
ultimately he gets like 10.
Like
Like
honestly, he like Itadori could have just walked in and saw him and saw him go explode, and it would have been like, oh snap.
actually, I think the thing I would have liked better, Ishidori walks in to see Nominee going ham. And then so you see the tail end of him going ham, but then you see Mahito on the back. He stands there like, why is Mahito talking to him? What's going on? And then you have Mahito blow him up. That would feel more impactful because at least Ichidori sees him get destroyed, try to keep fighting, and also it builds up Ichidori to keep fighting. There's no other point for Ichidori said he's going to keep fighting, but I think you need to show that he wants to keep fighting for the people he cared about, and that's not really shown off because you don't get to see Nominee fight. You just see him get blown up, and
Right.
yeah, like I I think that's the other big thing here. Like Nami getting his like closing thing is cool. Are we gonna get one for all the other characters? Maybe. I hope they're more in depth. Because if you would have gave this to Mei, I would have absolutely not liked it. Like, because Mei is so like she has a presence of her
But
about
Brandon,
her.
they with the end of the scene, they just flashed. They just gave a forewarning to old girl's death.
Yes, which basically like we're about to see one of his good friends, his classmate, die soon.
But the thing about
So
it, she might already be dead.
that's the other problem. We don't even know because the last because the last time we saw her, she was unconscious. She was conscious with that girl, and they were still in the
Exactly.
mall. It's a lot to think about. And I actually, am I happy it's back? Yes and no. Would I rather have them take 3 weeks off? Absolutely.
The question is, Brandon, will we see an episode Thursday?
If you had to press me on it now, if you had to legitimately press me on it now, sadly, yes. Sadly, yes, because I think Mappa know what they have in their back pocket. And not saying like Mappa has like they have a trump card against their animators. No. They know they have a cash cow, and they know the fact if they let the cash cow sit for too long, it would. Even though technically, like me and you talked about last week, it would not be bad at all because I think most people be like, "Cool, take a 2 week break and then come back and
Come back in.
we all be clamoring for it."
Now, what if they break into another,
You can't give us
a
another filler.
whole side story filler?
You no. You can't give us a filler side story. If you're giving
Yeah,
us
they can.
mojitos,
Yeah, they
who,
can.
whose? Because
Ghetto,
who?
ghetto. How did he get? How did he get to the point to where he got now?
Gee. If you do that, you have to give us a reason why you're showing that to us. You're not
But
wrong.
doesn't
You're not
I
wrong.
mean, the curiosity of it all too.
You're not wrong because you could do that. You could technically do the girl with the hammer where she did from up this point, which would tie back into mojitos. Uh, you have the other spirits the other two spirits that were with Panda and them. What they were doing? What was Panda doing up to this point? What was Panda and them doing up to this point?
You
Fight
see,
wise.
as you see, there's still a whole lot for them to go.
But see, that's
Like
the other
you,
problem. That's the other problem. I don't want to see a bunch of filler like side stories, which I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying I don't want to see them. I do want to see them, but I also want to make sure you stay with the main story because if that's the case, we have 5 episodes left in the season. It's 24 episodes. What are you gonna or 17 episodes, excuse me, 17 episodes left in the season. 12 episodes in, 5 episodes left. What are you gonna do in these 5 episodes to really hook people for season 3? Because season 3 is gonna be have to be something big. The next arc is gonna have to be something epic to even get people to continue watching.
and the thing is, I think people are gonna be waiting to see if they've treated their people better. If
Yes,
they've treated their people better, and your show comes back like better,
mm-hmm.
then you'll come back with more fans.
And that's the big problem. I think a lot of people saw the story about Mappa and they know what's going on. That's bad.
But no, that's what I'm saying. If
Oh,
all of those
okay.
people, if they, if Mappa put out a statement talking about, oh, their working conditions have improved like this and that and that and this, they're doing, you know what I'm saying? Then the people will be like, okay. And then the next season of JJK is better than this one. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. The only problem with that is, and it's something I would never normally even I'm gonna play devil advocate here. That PR statement has to be genuine. It can't be half. It can't be half baked. It can't be half done. Because you do a half done PR statement, something like that for fan purposes, just to make your fans happy, and we find out later down the road you were doing more shady. Yeah, no,
but branding companies do that all the time.
I know that, and it's also bad because it's a lot of times you do it once, people believe you. You do something again, people are like, okay, are you gonna change it? Are you really changed this time? And then they say they are. You do it a third time, people stop go watching or supporting something.
You're right, but the I hate to say it, but they do those infractions. They do have expiration dates. Like think about it. If you don't hear about this for the next 10 years or so, it's not going to have the same impact as if it happened again next year.
Okay, all right. I
Because
had
and then you have to understand that it's going to be a whole new generation of viewers.
yes, that's the problem. So the story
So
would be long and buried, not buried, but like long gone at that point. Nobody's really gonna know what really happened. That history is still there, but you're not gonna go digging for it.
because at that point, who cares?
Correct.
That's just, at the end of the day, what in society is going to make that relevant?
No, buddy.
Then, bro, that is the undeniable truth.
The thing of the matter, the thing that boggles my mind with all this, I get Mappa want to make their money. I get Mappa want to be this top dog. I get Mappa want to be the class of the anime world. I get all that. But yet, when you know you're gonna put out episodes half done, and yet it's not half done because not because anything you did wrong, but the fact of the matter is you just rushed it out because knowing you had to put out an episode because it was like the last minute thing, like last minute thing on Wednesday. It was like, oh, episode is coming out. Don't worry about it. Like, what? Wait, how? Huh? It feels like they're gonna be playing by the skin of their teeth for the next couple weeks, and I also think what they're gonna do, they're gonna play by the skin of their teeth till 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 the end of the year, till the end of the season, not the end of the year, end of the season, and then what they'll do, they're gonna go radio silent for a while outside the other anime they're making, and then they'll come back with guns blazing. But then by that point, none of this stuff will be even a point of contention anymore. We won't hear a word about Mappa inside working conditions, all that kind of stuff. They'll be swept on the rug so fast, we won't know if they actually got better or worse.
That's the truth. Because company hire people to do just that. Money
So
talk.
ultimately, is it gonna be something I'm gonna be thinking about as we get to the end of the year? Yeah. But what we just saw here is nothing compared to what I think what they can do and what they have been doing. This episode tells me if you don't if the animators really wanted to, they could really just mess up with an episode if they wanted to. And that's the
Yep.
other thing I kind of can tell. You can kind of tell that the animators they probably had on this probably were like, oh, we'll just halfway do this to show them what we can mess with. Because it's still up to quality. It's not bad. It's nowhere near like terribly looking.
Well, I don't think they would deliberately
No, I don't think they would.
sabotage it.
I don't think they would either. But
You know. So, but they can make a statement, to the company that this is what happens when you don't have everybody working like they're supposed to. See, like that, then that becomes what message are they trying to convey? But again,
mhm,
mass media and everybody in across the seas knows
mhm, mhm,
that the
mhm.
mass media cannot be trusted for that reason.
Correct. But as we're finishing up this talk, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say this: Get Up Dead About Death Play episode 20. Chris, you pressed the question. You pressed the question to me. So you said, "Do you think we're gonna have an episode?" I said yes. But I'll put this question to you then. You mentioned the fact we get some other side stories. What do you think we see next? Because I have a hunch they're gonna jump back to a character everybody loves, and that character is Mei Mei. They jump back to Mei Mei. They give us a fight with Ghetto. What do you think they will actually show us though?
Hmm. I think they're gonna show us the one person that we haven't seen yet.
Which is
The one person who can bring Itadori out of his funk.
hmm who?
Who's the one guy who taught Itadori how to use his blue fist?
Gojo.
No, not Gojo. You remember the big buff dude?
Oh, the guy that liked the idol girl. Wow. We haven't
Yeah.
seen him. We haven't seen him in a while.
But he was teased
Yes, he
in the
was.
beginning. So there's a chance we might see him, and then yeah, I hope we see more of May.
If they literally bring him back to help Ichidori for a bit, I'm fine with it. But I'm also like, why explain why he's in this fight then. Because that also tells me he was doing some side stuff too, which I don't really need to see everything in the side stuff he was doing. He was using part of the fight. But it's also like, why is he coming to help Ichidori now? What 3
But
months later?
that's the point though. They can show his backstory all the way up to that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm saying. But all
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
man.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
We
Let's
can
get
keep going
into.
around in circles with this. Yeah,
Yes, we
go
can,
ahead.
and yes, we can. And I don't want to, but I had to bring it up because this episode kind of just boggled my brain, and it didn't feel right. But let's get into Dead Mount Death Play episode 20, ladies and gentlemen. Dead Mount Death Play. Stop the presses. This show has just kind of done things from out of nowhere now. We had the last episode of a guy of the bodyguard getting a literal dragon arm. We also had all this stuff tied back in together from previous episodes, and they tease something for this next episode. I'm gonna say this right now. I'm gonna say a little bit of your discretion advised. A little bit, very small bit of your discretion advised. If you don't like creepy things, and when I say creepy, I mean like creepy crawly or very just like dark imagery, you might want to skip part of this episode because of that. I don't know if Chris would agree.
Or
Um,
maybe just go ahead and read about it. Yeah.
read about it, yeah, because they get kind of dark here in a weird but good way. But it does get really dark. It gets kind of dark to the point where you're like, where are they taking this and why? But I'm kind of into it, but I'm kind of not. Yeah, that kind of dark.
Like the
Uh,
first second of the scene is like, whoa, okay.
Other than that, this episode's pretty by the books in the sense like we get some dialogue things. The first shot of this episode is also kind of weird because I don't think they meant to do this, but they do it anyway. I give them credit. They know the show. Fair enough. Um, but I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Chris, you ready?
Really.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. And they show his teacher in all her glory, which is the weirdest shot ever because it's just a pan up. It's a pan up. Why, I don't know why y'all did
Yeah.
that. By the way, talking about the dragon that has the powers. So the dragon spirit can take over another body, basically?
No, he's telling him how to use them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, somebody gave me a dragon arm. I don't know if I would be mad. I couldn't be mad anymore at that point.
I mean, in the society that you live in, Brandon, how would a dragon's arm be useful?
It wouldn't. That's the problem. That's the problem. It wouldn't be useful at all. Like, that's the other thing.
Like,
Like, now, if you told me, here's the thing. I'll put it this way. If somebody gave me a bionic arm in this time period, like what I'm doing right now, then yes, that's useful. That's the equivalent I'm thinking about. Like, you gave somebody a bionic arm or something kind of insane like that. Like, you end up giving them something that's kind of, yeah, it's interesting here. It's interesting because it's like, yeah, what would I use that for? Nothing. But hey, I have a very powerful bionic arm. Okay, cool.
I mean, like, yeah, if he wanted to fight, then you
Yeah.
might just die. But doesn't necessarily make it useful now, does it?
No, it doesn't. Which that's the other thing that kind of like that's the other thing. I don't think he says in this episode, which we'll get to, but he kind of mentions the fact that I couldn't think of anything else to give you in return. I'm like, yeah, well, you're right. Episode 20, the visitor. Wait, she mentions Isekai. All right. I didn't think she mentioned that. Oh, she's trying to make isekais and shark movies make sense.
Yep.
I love the fact they're talking normally, they're in normal animation, but she's just swinging around in like this little kitty. It's so cute. It's so kind of cute. Like, what?
Like when you realize how, if that was drawn, how everything else is drawn, they wouldn't really have space for her in the video.
Yeah. But see, that's good work. That's work that works very well. I like how they do that because that makes more sense because you can do that and still have the story around it make sense.
You're right.
When they say blood, do they mean any blood? Basically, it doesn't have to be human.
They're not specifying, so I don't know.
Okay, because it's kind of interesting when they say blood. I'm like, are you just meaning just normal? It doesn't have to be human, but it can be anything, or it has to be human.
Mm. You would think, depending on what it is, it would enhance that
Power.
whatever about her. Yeah.
I love how he says the dragons have the great show of faith I can offer you. I'm like, you could offer him eternal life, basically. I'm gonna say you can make him undead. You could have done a lot of
I
other things.
mean, I mean, he would be undead as long as Pokey's alive.
Yeah, pretty much. But the same thing with the dragon arm. I assume the dragon arm's only going to be around as long as Pokey's around.
No, I think that's him.
That's okay. That's him.
Like he made that permanently a part of him because I mean the Dragonor is living.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's just creepy when he picks someone and goes, it's nice to meet you, Pokey. I love Solitaire because he's just like space aliens.
I mean, I'll talk about that later.
They must get a, and you can tell this is like the first time they've noticed they get a lot of patience. And by the way, how do they know where to go? Because they didn't get an indication of where this was coming from.
I think um, I think in one of the previous episodes, the white hair girl, oh no, the red hair girl had like a picture of where the hands came from, just like he
Okay,
do.
I love the fact here they gave him, even though it's a weird character to show off like this for help her, but it gives her a more human quality
True.
because she's more from Poki's world, so she doesn't have that understanding of like humans like small talk.
Well, the thing that's been overlooked and nobody's recognized it is that the black girl only has one eye.
Huh? Oh, she's a Cyclops.
Remember?
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yep. See, I don't really noticed that because I'm just thinking she's normal human, but yeah, she's not from.
So she has it well.
Wait, he knows about that. I'm about to say, he already
Mm,
knows about that. The pencils expected. See, now the bodyguard feels like he should have asked all these questions now, and he's getting all these answers now, but he's like, "What? You didn't tell me any of this? Well, you never asked." Like that's kind of the part. That's
right.
kind of the problem here.
Right. Even the pin's like, yo, where was I?
I love the fact her steps are heavy, but it doesn't feel heavy to us. But for him, it feels heavy.
Yep.
Part of the intrusion. This is where this is where it's through stretch device because this is about to pop up. Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of eyeballs.
That's not creepy at all. Nope.
Nope, that is very creepy. He literally casts the magic spell, then puts his hand over his face and changes his demeanor. That's amazing. That's so interesting how he did that.
And guy put on something to keep a straight face with all that.
Even the eyeballs like creeped out.
He's the master of misdirection.
Yep. See, that's where he's lying because he knows about the children, but he also knows about the detective.
So he knows
By
a
the
little
way,
bit about everything. And solitaire keeps pulling it out of him.
correct. By the way, it is really creepy how they made the voice of the fire starter people, Firebug, because they sound more robotic.
I was gonna say something like, I wonder why they went that way.
But I'm guessing to make it more sound like it's just one cohesive group instead of sounding like different people.
Yeah, so to kind of let you know that they're being mind controlled.
Correct. Like we've learned about from the previous episode. Which makes sense. We could do that. It makes it universal for the whole faction. Except for the main leader, the madam.
Yeah.
How long do you hold that How long are you gonna hold that magic on? I'm surprised you held on for this long.
He gonna hold on so he can fool his enemy. Like you ever get like feel somebody walk behind you and all of a sudden your hair stands up?
Mm-hmm.
He's seeing that. We get to
Yeah,
feel
he
it
is
now.
seeing that. He is seeing that right in front of him, basically. So he has no real pressing matter.
So they said they're pretty much there to crush the bug.
Mm-hmm. So is Firebug stronger than is strong?
We don't know.
Because I'm pretty weak.
It seems like it, but we don't know.
But yeah, that's true.
It
By the
just
way,
who
this is still creepy. The clapping in the background as she's talking. Wait, why do you say he? Isn't that a she? Oh wait, so it's not a she. Never mind.
yeah.
He said he, but she looks like a she. That's why I asked that question.
Well, you know we do live in the era.
Yeah, But you could, she has more boy traits than girl traits, which is actually kind of interesting if you're really going to say that. Oh, she does have only one eye. So what's behind her hair? Nothing?
Nothing.
Oh, wow. That's kind of interesting. How do you rattle somebody who's already killed a bunch of people?
So he tried to rattle him and ended up rattling himself.
Correct. But you know the funny part about that? So she don't know he has magic.
Nope.
And it's funny also, she's like, she also goes, wait, he has magic on par with some of the top sorcerers in the court. Huh? And that's where she walks. Oh, they remixed that song. Okay, kind of cool.
And it's so faint you can barely hear it though.
Yeah, it's very faint. It's like they didn't want to turn it too loud, but it's there just enough. I get why they did it too, because they didn't want to overdo it. And as they walk out, doink.
And this is going to be a pretty interesting fight.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So let's get into this because this episode does a couple different things, and I have to give them credit. They didn't miss on anything. So this episode starts off with Pokey in a flashback with his master who's former teacher, not master, former teacher, talking about the beast that has the dragon arm. And the spirit of that dragon is telling him what he can do with that dragon arm and how it can be used for other purposes. Then we cut back to Pokey and the bodyguard. The bodyguard, he tells the bodyguard, "This is, you know, for you, for everything you've done. This is what I trust you with." So he trusts him with that dragon arm. He says, "I can only offer you this." But then we cut to the rest of the crew sitting in the lab, and the shark girl is kind of going off about shark movies, samurai movies, other different things. And like the detective said, get to the point. What's the point of this? This is the first time in a long time where filler conversations have came back into play. This is a filler conversation for the most part, except for this part where she says, well, this goes back to the vampire girl who's spinning around in a chair. And she goes, Shark Girl goes, "Hey, so she can drink blood. The more blood she drinks, the stronger she gets. It's like steroids, basically, for her. And so I think Tech Dude asked her, "Can you walk in sunlight?" And she said, "Yeah, I can. It makes me a little dizzy, but I can." And the vampire girl's like, I have a superpower. It's like a superpower. Cool." Just kind of leaves that conversation. Then we go back to Pokey and the bodyguard. The bodyguard and Pokey kind of talk some more. He tells him, "Hey, this is a real Pokey. He's in this shark." The grandfather's like, "I trusted that because Pokey, he told me everything, and I can't be mad at him anymore." So this was a weird line from the grandfather. I can't be mad at him anymore. But then the bodyguard goes, "Nice to meet you, Pokey. It's nice to meet you again, Pokey," in like the creepiest voice ever. Man was like about to rip that thing apart. I don't know what was going on. And then Pokey goes, "He's never been. Why is he so hostile to me? To me now? Now? What?" He's confused. Pokey was the actual Pokey body was confused. A little myth, but confused mainly. So then we cut to interesting thing. So we get to finally kind of meet the other characters. We got to an interesting thing, which is the scene cuts to where we're getting ready to do some fortune telling stuff. They're setting all that up. But before we set that up, we are getting to go to the cops. The cops start getting some questions about some things, or not we get not the cops. We get to see Solitaire. Solitaire's with the fire starters, Firebug. They are questioning the dude that ran out the building and tried to skip town. This conversation doesn't really make a lot of sense because a lot of the conversation is basically them trying to give information to each other, but trying not to like tell give away what they know. So basically, it ends up saying that the guy that got captured knows about the doctor and the not the doctor, the other the cop and somebody else. But the other person we know he knows about is the he knows about the children, but he doesn't explain that till later. But then we see the cops talk, and the cops have all this other information, older things, basically leading us to talking about the fortune. The girl cop's like, "Oh, there's fortune tellers out there. This is a fortune teller you might, that's been doing everybody's fortune." And the blonde hair guy's like, "A fortune teller? Oh, wait, he's been to the fortune teller." So we see the vampire girl get ready for the fortune teller thing. She puts on the costume, all that kind of stuff. And then we get to one of the weirder scenes in this where you see the three people from the other world talking to this dude. This dude is actually really kind of nice kid. He basically explains what he saw when the hands came out of the sky and everything that's going on. The dude and the girl and the white kind of have hit it off. They kind of have like a nice conversation. The girl in the white is kind of trying to act more human, or more. When I say human, I mean in the sense like
More
human.
natural, I should say.
Yeah, natural. So she's trying to act like what people would act like in this world, not where she's from. So she's trying to do small talk, all this kind of stuff. The girl with the black hair is kind of like, why are you
Why are you even giving them the time of
time
day?
of day? Yeah, she's like, why are you caring? What do you care? Why do you care about him giving you the fine? But she kind of tells him like, no, I need this because it gives us more information, which ends up helping her out later because she tries to find everything that happened on that night through this guy's Instagram, basically, or social media. We don't know which one it really is. Um, we have more talking with the cops. The cops basically kind of go into the fact that, oh yes, so we have this information from the other stuff. We find out about the fortune teller thing. Pokey finally tells the bodyguard about the pen, which is the Hogarogi, the former cop. We jump to Solitaire and them, and Solitaire really kind of just gets the other information about the cop and a couple other things, and yet he doesn't say much else outside of those two things. He kind of just leaves it there. But both people know what's going on. And at one point, one of the fire starters asked him, "Are you afraid of cops? Are you afraid of this?" He asked about the children. He asked about all these things, and he says, "I don't know anything about the children. Why do you ask me about that?" And like I mentioned to Chris while you're watching it, the fire starters all sound more robotic in nature because they're probably all one group being brainwashed, so they didn't want to. This makes it more easier to tell who a fire starter is, just as a group kind of thing outside the matriarch. Then Pokey gets ready to do another fortune telling. The girl walks. The bodyguard leaves. He's gonna go grab some food for the girl he's trying to protect. The dinner. He said that'd be nice. Then this is where Pokey kind of freaked out. So Pokey feels these footsteps coming. These footsteps for him are feeling heavy, like a rhino had just walked into the room, an elephant just walked into the room, something so massive to the point where it's crushing the floor, which is a good touch. But then on our end, they sound like normal footsteps to us. So she sits down and she calls herself clientess or clientson or clientele, basically, in short. She sits down and Pokey recognizes she has all these eyeballs, all these hands. She's been around people that have died and ghosts and all. It was awesomely creepy, and it works. Pokey's like, I can't have her see me be nervous. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a false face. He conjures a false face and literally just changes his face to look deadpanned. And I'm like,
I mean, he literally puts on a whole mask. Like, wow, bro.
full mask, eyes, everything. Deadpan look, doesn't care. Outside of him talking, nothing else changes. Like his face in the mirror does not change outside talking. So then they have a conversation. They kind of ask about each other. She mentions about the war, which he's seen in a flashback. He asks more about her, but then he finally kind of tries to prod her because he wants to get more deeper into her. The eyeball with the tech dude is going nuts. It doesn't know. It doesn't know what to think right now. And so they keep talking. Their talk is pretty long, but the talk kind of leads to this, where we kind of get some. We're about to get some answers to things. He's gonna try something, but he hasn't tried it yet. We go see Solitaire. Solitaire has more questions with the dude. The dude, um, the dude mentions, well, can't the cops like uh track us? So if you do anything on your phone, won't they track us and we know where we are? So why are you doing this? And then Solitaire's like, you're right. I'm not gonna do that. This is where we get the conversation about the Firestarter and Firestarter asking about the children and all this stuff and the police. And he says, no, neither one. I don't know what you're talking about. Solitaire figures out he does. He does know about the children. he does know about the cop, and yet he's not telling me. Okay, I trust him. I get it now. So then we get back to Pokey and the client, and they keep kind of talking about things, asking questions, kind of part. She wants answers, but he also wants answers. He's getting more creeped out, and he finally tries to take a hand, call the rest of Corpse God, take a hand and put it through her eyeballs, the ghost eyeballs, which he thought there were shadows, but they were real. So they were real, and he kind of maneuvers his hands into them, touching her soul, and she goes, "Oh, that felt weird, huh?" And
Like it was a
before
burst
they
of
do,
mine.
correct, but before they even do this part, it's interesting because she kind of talks about something that really didn't like if somebody commits a crime, would you want revenge? If the person that committed the crime goes after revenge, what does that mean for you? All these different things. This conversation kind of goes off the rails a little bit. Then he knows about the children. He knows she was part of the children. All that kind of stuff. Then he tries the hand thing. After that, then the girl that has the one eyeball kind of sees something going down. But after Pokey tries the hand thing, he's like, "I'm gonna make a barrier. I don't care." He throws up a magic barrier on top, and then throws all these other things out. And then she wants more. She wants to try more, but they're not going to get a chance to because the girl walks in. But funnily enough, she mentions when he does it the first time, she's like, "This man has a lot of mana. This man has so much mana to the point where, um, he's one of the top level sorcerers in the courts. How? Doesn't know much about him." So then they get close. They try to get closer. She walks in there. She's like, "We're not safe here, ma'am. We need to get out." Then they cut to a flashback when his teacher and him went to this lady who's like a cleric who can feel spirits, hear spirits speak, and she can but she doesn't. She's like, it's kind of a burden to have spirits that can speak to you, right? And yet she's not surprised. She kind of understands that. So then they get up and leave. They're about to head out. Poki's like, okay, they're heading out. Kind of weird. Why are they heading out so fast? So then she says, "I'm gonna think. Sorry to leave you, good fortune teller, but we'll be back for another visit." As they literally walk out, senior commissioner's daughter gets decked by the big dude of the son's body, the father's bodyguard. He's like, "I knew it was y'all snooping around, so let's have. I'm gonna finish off what we started," and that is where the episode ends with
And I mean,
Vampire Girl standing in the hallway alongside everything else going on. Go ahead.
and I mean, when he related it came out of nowhere and knocked her down, like, and I mean, ain't you supposed to be like a muscle type person too?
Yeah, she's
Like
supposed to be really strong,
you
but
got amazing though.
one punch decked her. Like literally one punch decked her. I'm like, oh, okay. If one punch decked her, what? How strong is he?
Man,
Uh, what did you think about this episode, Chris? Because this episode was actually really well done.
it was really well done. So overall, man, some of my favorite parts of the episode were like in the beginning, seeing that dragon arm, and then seeing, and they gave a little sneak peek of where it came from in the last episode, and then you actually kind of see a little bit more in this episode. It was, I'm really kind of waiting for them to show him use it, because
Yeah,
because that's gonna be interesting. So, and then the story with how he was trying to agitate the redhead girl. It's like, okay, like what are you trying to, like that point it was kind of confusing because I was trying to figure like what are you trying to understand about this girl? Like she is really messed up, man. So
yeah. But here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about that. I thought it was funny because I'm like, wait a minute, you worked with her before. You know she's kind of off her. She's off her rocker. She's kind of weird. why you want to know what's going on right now? It doesn't make much sense. It's like you have no reason to. thought that was kind of funny. Continue, by
It
the way.
was I was over here laughing, trying to catch my breath.
Oh, okay.
But those are just some of my favorite things about this episode, though. So, are we giving our rating, or you ready?
Um, I'm gonna say this though. I do appreciate them having a long conversation with the girl from the other world. It gives her backstory. It also gives Pokey a reason to have another reason to fight. 'Cause you know who this girl is. They both have a they both have a common goal, but the common goal is Firestarter. So we don't know where that's gonna go. Is Firestarter a bigger threat than we expected? Maybe, but we don't know much about that. We'll see. Um, yeah, let's get into our ratings. So, what would you rate this episode?
I would rate this episode as a solid 9.3.
Ooh,
They gave us all the information, gave us some new mysteries. Like they really brought it all together.
okay. Do you think the fact that we got the tie-in episode last episode and this episode here was more adding new mysteries? Do you think that was a good thing, or do you think that was more or less of like if they really want to add new things, they had to have loose ends from the previous episode?
I mean, if you don't really know what's going on, you're kind of lost, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but there are a lot of things that they kind of are moving forward with now. Like, okay, like they've already kind of settled some older things now, so they're moving on to some newer stuff. So, so they're bringing in their newer mysteries so they can continue with their story.
And then my other question is, do you think we get the fight between the girl and the the bodyguard, the father, or are we gonna just cut back? Well, we do things. Are we just gonna cut back to Pokey? Are we gonna cut back to Solitaire talking to the dude first, and we're gonna get more information out of that? And or are we just gonna have another thing entirely? Because we didn't see Clarice this episode, we didn't see the father this episode. I wonder if Pokey's bodyguard's gonna come back and just beat up on his former bodyguard friend. Like, there's a lot of different ways they can go. What do you think the way they might go most likely to start off?
Honestly, man, so that's a good question because I would like to see them fight a little bit, but I do want to see his dragon arm though. And and
Yeah.
and I sincerely hope we get both. But
Okay.
what are the odds of that actually happening
Very, very easily. I think very likely.
though? Okay.
I think they have to give the dragon arm its time to shine. So I think it's gonna be its time to shine next episode. We actually see a tease in the opening credits of him using the dragon
We
arm for first
do.
time, and actually he doesn't really know how to control it. So he has to get used to it. So
That's why I'm so anxious to see it too.
like that, but also the fact is, like, what what do you do with like Carice's group now? What do you do with the group from the other world? Like, they've seen all this now. Like, they've literally seen everything. What's their whole thing about? And I think we're gonna get one more
Mm,
character. I think we get one more character from his old world, and I think it's gonna be his former teacher. I think his former teacher's still alive, and Pokey's former teacher's gonna come in this world and help him out.
hope it's the one with all the curves.
That's who I think it's gonna be. Because who else would come in this world to help him out outside the Emperor and the Magistrate? Um, Personally, for me, this rating is gonna be kind of interesting. I would have to give this like a 9.8. So
Okay.
I'm a little bit higher than you, only because I think they're tying in story stuff really well. The way we're getting to certain points now are good. I do think Tech Dude is kind of getting. I'm gonna say this very plainly, and I hate this. I hate to say because you like Tech Dude. I think it's okay. I think Tech Dude's getting kind of annoying now, a little bit, a little bit annoying. But that's
You
only
think so?
because I think we haven't had a full, true episode of him getting like a full on backstory for him. We got a little bit. We did get a little bit. I think
He
it's good.
still
Like
holds a lot of mystery keys.
correct. Unlike the bodyguard, we got a full on backstory for the bodyguard. He got a redemption arc. He's got a dragon arm now. I think we need that for the tech dude to give us a reason to care about the tech dude more. But also tech dude's kind of in the weird spot of like he doesn't want to know about. He want to protect his friends, but he doesn't want to protect his friends because he also knows he could at any point he can end up being dead. Yeah.
At any point, anytime.
Anytime. So it's like, okay, yeah. But then the other part of that, I think the other character I think needs more more backstory to them. Is the one that Solitaire Solitaire's talking to, that dude that tried to run away. We don't know why he ran away. We don't know what the purpose was. We don't know who he's working for. So I think that comes to a head because I think eventually he drops the veil, or if Solitaire drops the veil, and Solitaire's like, so what are you really trying to do here? But
And
we'll see.
that's what we're waiting to see. Yep.
Correct. The next episode, I always scroll to the end because I want to see what the next episode is called. Next episode 21 is called The Spirit. That's kind of an interesting title because it gives us two indications. One, we're going to see something very creepy, or two, if you're calling it the spirit, I think it's the spirit of the teachers coming back.
I was just about to say, I hope it's the spirit of the teacher.
That's the thing I think he's about to play out. The spirit of the teacher comes back and she helped Pokey. That's the only reason you would do it. That'd be fun, but hey, who can I say?
You never know. You never know.
That is true. So that was episode 32 of the Anime Dojo. Next week, we're getting into episode 21 of Dead Not Death Play. And hopefully, episode 43 of JJK. We'll probably find out late tomorrow, see how that goes. If not, we've already watched episode 1 of Attack on Titan. We'll probably do a couple more episodes tomorrow just on our off time. But where we end off, we'll just do the next episode on stream. So look out for that. But luckily, if JJK keeps rolling, we're going to keep sticking with JJK. I think it will keep rolling. I don't think it'll change. But I do thank Chris for joining me. I hope you all did enjoy it. This will go on the podcast feed tonight. It will hit Spotify tonight, and then I'll put it up. I'll put it up on YouTube on Thursday. I do thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy, and hope you for next time. See you
Later, guys.